Welcome to the Love, Truth, and Power podcast. Today we pick up on our series, The Color of Love, and we're excited to have the McKays join us. They started out young, they're interracial, and still blooming. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being part of the Love, Truth, and Power podcast. As we focus on the biracial families and elevating families in our communities and stuff. And I know, we've been friends for a very long time. And again, for us, I know we've had the experience of being able to be friends with a lot of empowered families, and so that's what I wanted to focus on. So the audience knows I'm not making this up. I am truly blessed to know a lot of families who have been together a long time and have made really empowering decisions over their families. So with that, I'm going to ask you to tell me a little bit about your story, like when you met, how you met, where you met.
You want to go?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I was 15, he was 17. Our dads were in the military, and they were stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas, and we met there. I ended up getting pregnant. I was kicked out of my home. I ended up getting my own apartment, and he moved in, and then we had my first child, and that was it. We've been together ever since.
What's your side of the story?
Pretty much the same thing. Childhood sweethearts. Like I said, we met at a park, ironically, and then we started dating. This was like 87, 88, and we started dating, and 2 years later we got married. But I had Rachel while we was out there. Rachel was at my high school graduation, to be ironically, but yeah. So I mean, pretty much the same thing, and it was ironic because my parents PCS to Fort Campbell, then her parents PCS to Fort Campbell.
Mine PCS
yours
first.
PCS first, and then mine PCS, and we reconnected again. We stayed together, and the rest is history.
Oh, that's interesting. So you guys reconnected at the...
Well, my dad went to Korea. His dad went to Korea, and that's when we met.
Yeah.
Then my dad came back. No.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, my dad came back. They moved to Fort Campbell. We still lived in Kansas because we were living in an apartment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was ironic because Becky got pregnant, and then her dad was in Korea, and God rest his soul. But we over time we got real close. But initially, he didn't approve, and so I remember the story like it was yesterday. He was looking out the bathroom window, seeing Becky come meet me, and I remember Mama Carol saying that he was like, "So that's the dude that she's dating, right?" And he was like, "When I come back from Korea, she needs to be gone." And so she was like 16.
Well, that's when he found out I was pregnant.
Yeah, and so she moved to. Her mom helped her get a place down off base in Junction City, Kansas. I moved in with her, so I was in high school, going to school for 2 hours a day, going to AFES to work at the furniture store to put furniture together, and we were struggling. But yeah, and so then her parents moved to Fort Riley. Then I graduated. Fort Campbell. Then I graduated high school, and she moved, and then I, trying to get my life situated. I went to South Carolina for a little bit to try to work, and that didn't happen. And so I came back to Fort Riley and joined the Army.
Fort Campbell.
Yeah, Fort Campbell. I keep saying Fort Riley, but Fort Campbell. Yeah. So yeah, that's the story. And
I think you answered the question, but just to be clear, so how long did you guys date before you got married?
2 years.
Yeah.
Literally 2 years.
Yeah, because Rachel was
a year old.
Yeah, a year old when we got married. Yeah.
2 years.
And Rachel's your oldest daughter.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So how many children and grandchildren do you have?
I have 4. I have 3 girls, 1 boy, and I have 6 grandkids. I got 3 of each.
Okay. I like the way you said that. I have. Not we have.
Oh, well.
You caught that, right? You caught that. You caught that. I saw it. I was like,
They're
okay,
yours.
they're yours. Until they mess up, then they mine.
Yeah.
That's the true statement.
So Becky, what attracted you most about Mr. Isaac when you met him?
Oh, honestly, he didn't. I was not into him because my guy was 6 foot something, darker than him. And actually, I was dating one of his friends when I met Isaac because one of my friends was Isaac's neighbor, and she used to watch Isaac's sister babysit her. And she kept telling me about him. I thought, well, I want to meet him or whatever. So, and that's when I met him at the park. But at that time, I was dating one of his friends. Or no, the guys had this thing. Everybody run or see who can get her first or whatever. Well, I guess his friend ran, and so we started talking. Then me and him had broke up, and then he asked me to go out with him.
You didn't answer the question.
What?
Yep.
You didn't answer the question.
What?
So we're gonna give Isaac a chance to answer the question
No.
and come back to you. What attracted you most about Miss Becky, Mr. Isaac?
You honestly, at that younger of an age, man, I was 17 years old.
I don't think about nothing but the pants.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I think we were too young to know what love
Yeah.
was. You know what I'm saying? We grew into love, but I mean, we was real good friends, and you know, she had a little blonde hair going on back in them days, and but yeah, so I mean, it was the chase probably, and then we grew into friends. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So back to you, Becky. What attracted you most about Mr. Isaac? Why him?
Rachel.
I mean, back then it wasn't any attraction. It was more like, you know, just having somebody and then, you know, being together sexually. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you were young.
We were young.
Exactly. Exactly. I didn't. I mean, for me also, after, you know, I got to know him, Isaac's the type of person that he'll do anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he made sure what Becky wanted, Becky got.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So, yeah, that's
so now
attractive.
he's paying for all that
Mm-hmm.
as the years go on because you done started something.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Fair, Becky, fair.
Yes.
That's what I told my husband. Don't get me used to something you're not going to be able
Yeah.
to stay for a lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. So what were some of the early challenges, especially since you guys, you know, were young when you guys came together? What were some of the early challenges of both of you coming together into marriage?
You want me to go first? Wow, some of the early challenges, it was a lot of them. From family, both sides. I'll tell you one of the earliest challenges, outside of the fact that we were biracial, her not having her dad after we got married. That was one of the hardest things because he kind of like disowned her for a minute. And so...
and can I ask, was that because she was pregnant? Was that because you were
It's
black?
because she
Was
dated
that
a black
because-
dude.
And then, but the pregnant thing got it.
Yeah.
Didn't help.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It didn't help.
It
And
didn't
so...
help. So when he was in Korea, my mom had told him that I was pregnant, and he's like, "Well, have her get an abortion." She's like, "I can't do that." He's like, "Why?" She's like, "Because she's too far along." Because at the time when my mom found out, I was 6.5 months pregnant when everybody found out, and he's like, "Well, have her give it up for adoption." My mom's like, "I can't. That's her baby. You know, if she wants it." And he's like, "Well, I want her out of my house before I get home." So
Yeah.
my mom got me emancipated.
Yeah. And so...
But did you know race was a problem for your dad? That
Yeah.
his race was a problem? Yeah.
But
and this,
I think it took for me to be with a black guy or whatever, because my dad, he would never say, you know, anything bad in the house about, you know, colored people, because he had friends, but I guess his child,
Yeah.
And,
I never understood it, but
It was good enough for him, but not for his child.
right.
Yeah.
because you got to realize he was in the military, so he worked around
Yeah,
African Americans,
yeah,
people
so-
of color,
Yeah.
all his life. But that was one of the things.
And you said for both sides, so was yours an issue?
Well, I think for my mom, it was her boy. I'm a mama's boy. All mama's boys at that age, you're not ready. You know what I'm saying? And that was that. But for them, my mom and her, they like.
His family took me.
Yeah, my family took her in, and put their arms around her and loved on her. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I tell, and I try to tell his dad, he was more of a dad to me than my own father was. And it took my dad, matter of fact, when we came back from Japan and he retired is when I started talking to my dad again. And that was before he had passed away. So.
Yeah, but so like my family took her in. That was the difference between the two sides, and so. But the other challenges that we had early on in our marriage, I remember when we got stationed at Fort Polk, Louisiana. That was rough. It was rough because we caught more. We caught more flack from my people than we did her people. You know what I'm saying? It was harder for us to find a group that we can belong to of people, of friends, because if you hang out with the black folks, they're looking at me like I'm crazy. They're looking at her like I'm crazy, like she crazy. But we didn't really get a lot of that from white folks when we, was around all the white people.
When we noticed it the most was there, at Fort Polk, they had a 4th of July thing on post. And we had Rachel and Sierra. It was me and him. Sierra was in the little stroller. We're walking, and you'll see the women. They'll look at the kids, they'll look at me, then they'll look at him, and we both.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, do you see that? He's like, yeah.
That was a struggle for me. Like, it was always a struggle early on in our marriage, and sometimes to this day still, I find myself trying to protect her, so I don't like to put her in certain circles because I don't ever want her to feel out of place, and as in a society now where color and race is like so up front, it's easy for people to feel like, black power and feel a certain way about mixed relationships. You get that. So that was one of the struggles that we had as far as relationship wise, was that just
knowing where to fit in and who to turn to, because we're young and we broke, literally we broke, and so you didn't have nobody, and it was just us, and so we just did it.
Yeah, that's one thing it's about Isaac. He shielded me from.
I did my best.
He never allowed me to see that, which I never did really. I mean,
yeah.
And if I do, I'd laugh it off.
Yeah. You remember this? Do you remember the story? Remember the time in the Walmart? You remember that story?
What?
With the white lady?
Oh, that was a commissary.
Commissary. You remember that?
God,
Tell them that story.
Whoop her.
Do you remember the story?
Yeah, we were
Tell
walking.
them the story.
We were.
This is in Fort Polk.
Fort Polk. It was a white lady. She had her kid. It was me and Isaac, and then we had our kids. Well, we're grocery shopping. Apparently, he got in her way, or whatever, and she was just making these faces or whatever, and Isaac had to get me out of there because I was going off.
It's just the way she was looking, like,
yeah, I just didn't.
You're married to him, you know what I'm saying, and you can just see.
No, yeah.
And you as a black man didn't.
But no. But let me,
yes,
no,
that's it. Yeah.
No, let me tell you, her kid was biracial.
Yeah, but it's just the way she looked, like you're married to a black man and y'all together, and you didn't move out my way, and then she felt so entitled, like I'm supposed to just. And that's just how Louisiana was. It was restaurant. Y'all know Fort Polk. y'all was there too. So yeah.
Oh, but I did have an incident when I went to visit my mom and my aunt in Georgia. And I had Rachel, and we went to the store, and this white girl, she kept with her mom, and she kept staring everywhere I go. She was there, so that made me mad. I'm 16 years old. What are you looking at? So I was already mad. Me and my mom get to the register, and the person's like, "Is there a problem?" My mom's like, "Yeah, my daughter don't like the way the girl's looking at her kid." He's like, "Yeah, you know, people these days." And I was like, "Oh, Lord."
Yeah.
But I think that was probably my most.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to shield her from the rest of it as much as I could, and just place her around people that, you know, that didn't really think like that, you know. So yeah.
Well, you answered this several questions I have.
Ask them anyway.
So that what was race ever a challenge for you, for family, or for friends? You guys being the different
Yeah,
race.
it was definitely a challenge for both. I tell you that not until we moved in the cul-de-sac where we all met, did I feel, or we feel, the most comfortable. You know what I'm saying? For me to be able to leave her with people, you know what I'm saying? Not until then. And that, you know, look at how many years that was since we, you know, so I never felt comfortable up until then, of her being able to just sit with you and Miss Tanya and our crew in the cul-de-sac, and she feel comfortable and could be herself. We always had to be on guard, you know what I'm saying? Like, she always had to watch what she had to say, and you know, I'm always on guard to look and see who giving her the side eye, you know. No, it's always, and I hate to put it like this, but it was always, as much as it was white people, it was just as many black people doing the same thing. More black women than black men. That was the key. Like, I couldn't put her because they always just gave her the stink eye. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. We always say, well, white person, but black folks is just as racist as white people are when you really think about it.
Yeah. Bias. I'll just correct them. They can be biased. They can't be racist.
Bias, we'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, some of it, to add context to it, is that, you know, also black women have been so underappreciated and undervalued that I think, again,
I agree.
because I'm Latina, married to a black man, so
I get it.
Understand, you know, the frustration, the
Yeah.
anger,
Yeah.
that it feels like a personal rejection of
It does.
them.
I get it. And then when they see, like, when they meet us and then we talk and they see that we've been together since we was literally kids, and then they're like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like you went off and got a basketball scholarship and then married a white girl and not the chick that she was dating in high school. Like, y'all literally,
you guys were in the struggle.
We came out the mud together. You know what I'm saying?
So, we grew up together.
Yeah, and so when the people we come around see that, then they're more open to, you know, accepting who we are as a couple. So yeah, biased is a good word. I say that instead of racist.
Yeah. And it's true also, just in general, again, which is why we do this podcast, right, is building belonging one story at a time, is that once people know your story, it's harder to just disregard or dislike or be judgmental. But that's what everybody says. It's like, if you ever meet a person who doesn't like a whole population or a whole race, it's mostly because you have never met someone from that race. So, and that stories are the thing that build belonging. So, yeah. So that makes perfect sense with what has been found. So now that you've been married, how many years?
32, 31.
31.
Now that you've been married 31 years, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have overcome that you can share?
I'm transparent.
The biggest challenge, I would say raising our kids.
Because you have different thoughts or different cultures, or why raising the kids?
Yeah.
Or because they're so determined on their own?
No, I would say, to pick what you're saying, one of the biggest challenges we've overcome, staying married, to be honest with you. I mean, just to keep it real, like, we went through it, and it wasn't, you know, when you start out so young and you never got a chance to, you know, get out in the world and then it's new to you, and so you kind of like you're trying to live out your younger years as an adult now because you didn't get a chance to live out your younger years. So I went through that, you know what I'm saying? And so one of the biggest challenges that we overcame was her sticking around due to that. But the challenge between like the way she was raised and I was raised was a big challenge, and how we were going to raise the kids, and I'm a disciplinarian because that's the way I was raised. And her parents didn't really raise her as a disciplinarian. I was raised in church. She wasn't raised in church. So, those kind of things we had. And then we didn't know how to communicate. So all of that, it was a big melting pot of mess up until, we kind of matured. Because we had to figure it out on our own. We didn't have no help. Once again, not until we really moved in the cul-de-sac and seen Miss Ruth and Mr. Frierson and how they took care of their families and how they came together on Sundays and how you guys would incorporate us into the Sunday conversation, and she seeing how you was as a mother, which also gave her ideas of how she need. Not until then, until we really started. Yeah, I'm telling you.
I didn't get that oh baby, how you are with your girls. I wasn't raised like that. My mom didn't hug me. I was lucky if I heard I love you or whatever. But it took me years. Because I got 3 girls. Deontay, I had no problem giving him a hug to. That was my boy. Because honestly, I didn't want girls because I know how I was. But God seemed different, and apparently I did a good job.
But not until so those are some of the challenges that we had to overcome when it comes to being a biracial or interracial couple. Yeah.
And so how are the challenges that you've overcome being married a long time different than the challenges when you first got married?
You want to go or you want me to go?
Go ahead.
When we first got married, the challenges was how to be married. What it was, because
to survive.
We just did it. You know what I'm saying? We didn't ask no questions. I was getting ready to go in the Army. Literally, we had a week. We got married on a Thursday, which just so happened to be February the 14th. And the next Thursday, I was going to basic training. Now, you got to realize, so I went to basic training. Then I went to Germany. So like for the first couple, for the first year, we weren't even together. So we was married and didn't even know. So the first time we was able to be husband and wife, we was in Louisiana, and it didn't go right.
No,
at all.
I ended up leaving there.
Yeah,
and
it didn't go right.
Going back to Fort Campbell and had Sierra.
Yeah, it didn't go right at all. And because we didn't know each other as adults now, we was still kids, but so that was a big challenge. Compared to now, I remember I said in one of the podcasts from season 1, we battle tested now, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's nothing that the enemy could throw in front of us that we can't make it through because we literally been through everything. And so I always tell her, like, we have to be an example to other biracial, interracial couples with biracial children. We have to be a better example so that they can see that, yeah, they made it, we can make it too.
Yeah, and that's important now. Because biracial children today are the fastest growing population in the United States.
Yes,
they are.
And so, and your children are biracial, right? So what are some of the biggest challenges that you know of that they faced being biracial?
I remember Brianna, when she was in college, a friend of mine, he made these Black History shirts, and it had the infinity sign on the front of it. And it said Black History with the infinity sign, right? And so I bought a couple and I gave them to the kids. I gave her one and she wore it on campus.
Well, first tell them that what she's going to school with, but she wanted to wanted to be a lawyer doing, what was it?
Criminal justice?
No, the other one thing. Oh my God, what is it called?
Can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
And so she was in college. This particular story, I don't think had anything to do with what Becky's talking about. It was just based on your question. She wore that shirt on campus and had to prove to, like, I think she was. I remember her saying, like, some of the other students on campus didn't believe she was white. I believe she was black. And so she had to literally, like, show, because she had the shirt on, and they was like, "Why you got that shirt on? You're not black." And she literally had to show them, like, this is my mom and this is my dad. And I know that's one incident that they had, that she had. The other girls, I don't really think they had too many issues. Being that they was on a military,
I didn't hear anything.
yeah, and being that they was on a military installation all of their life, so I'm sure if it was like, it was common on every installation we've been on, and they only know here besides Japan, and it was biracial children everywhere. I know that one particular incident that Brianna had in college, though. I remember that.
So, black and biracial children, and even Latino children like myself, are not reflected in children's books as much, right? And it's happening more now, but not when they were children. And certainly not represented in the history books back then or now, for the significant contributions of people that look like them, right? So is there anything that you guys did in particular to make sure that you cultivated a world where they felt like they truly belonged? Even though, like I said, even my girls, as you guys know, are biracial. It's like what, of course, I've never had that experience. So it's, how do you like make sure that they like feel confident or whatever being themselves, even though for them when they were young, there wasn't as many children like themselves other than your children. So was there anything in particular that they came home and you guys said, well, let's address this or whatever? Especially in Prince George, since the majority of the population there was white.
Yeah. I've always kept them engulfed in history, and so it was normal for them to sit down and watch Roots or sit down and we talk about, black history and our history and their history and where you belong in it. And just because you're biracial, I used to always tell them, have a conversation with them, society is going to always see you as a black child. Yep. Even though you got a white mama, so we've had those conversations since they was young, and I used to tell them the 1% rule that, you heard back in the, early days. It's, they still kind of like do that a little bit, like, because your daddy's black, you're going to always be identified as an African American or a person of color, and so you have to walk in that. So we always had those conversations, always.
So what would you say are some of the triumphs in your marriage that you hope your children saw and practice in their own lives? Something that you say, oh, I hope that they do
I would say,
I would say some of the things that I hope they take away when they, in their families, as they raise their families. Some of the things I hope they take away is just the fact that, in spite of, we still made it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though, like, I've seen mom and dad go through this, but they still made it through, and that quitting isn't an option in a society where it's easier to get divorced than it is to get married. For them just to see all the hurdles that we had to cross as husband and wife, do the color, do the whatever, marriage, life. But the greatest thing I hope they pull back from that and take away is that, that in spite of all of that, they still loved each other. They still showed each other love, and that anybody can make it if you put your mind and your heart to it. That's one of the greatest things I hope they take away.
You, Becky? No pressure, but if you have an answer, I want to give you the opportunity.
I mean, for me, just to them know that nothing's, perfect. You have to work at everything and anything. That's pretty much it. I mean, and then my thing is too to put God first. Put God in your life and teach your kids about God and
So a lot of people always focus on how much work marriage is, which is true. Marriage is work. But then there are a lot of benefits to being married as well that I think, people in general don't focus on. So what would you say are some of the benefits of you guys' marriage and union and staying, married?
For me, it's because I'm used to him now.
I appreciate you.
I mean, I know his ups and downs. I know his triggers. I don't have to go out there and worry about somebody else's problems. I know what his wants are. I know what his needs are.
I think being married for so long, some of the benefits of that is just being a military guy and always TDY and always deployed. It's good to have somebody to come home to that know you. You know what I'm saying, and that can cultivate your household. That's a benefit. The fact that just when you go through something, like especially with me and my health and all the things that I went through, I don't think a lot of women would have stuck around with a man if it was early on in a relationship. But because we have been together so long, we know each other. This one right here likes to finish my sentences and I can't tell a story about my childhood because she know them all. And so if somebody asks me a question about Pageland, South Carolina, where I'm from, and so if they ask me a question, I don't even answer. I just be quiet. I wait because I know she's gonna open her mouth and she's gonna go in and she's gonna tell the story. And so, it's good to have somebody like that, to have a friend. But it took us a long time to be friends, though.
Yeah.
A long time. Yeah. It took us a long time. I think once that happened, then the glory of the marriage came after we learned how to do that. Yeah. But it's a lot of benefits. The fact that we're together, all of our children are by the same people, and no knock on nobody else, but I think it's good for kids to grow up seeing that their mom and dad still together. It gives them hope when they go out and have a relationship that, look at what my parents went through. We can make it if they can make it, So I think that's a great benefit of just our story being an example for our children and my extended children.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Again, I'm going to give you the opportunity to answer it in a different way if you want to, but what is together in a marriage, what is the thing that you're most proud of as you look at your children collectively? That they are the result of your marriage. What are you most proud of?
I'm proud of them that they all graduated high school because I did not. I'm just proud. I mean, for my girls, I'm proud of the women that they turned out to be. As my girls were growing up, I always instilled in their head that they're no better than anybody else. Granted, you're beautiful, but you're no better than the next person. So, and I try to, don't think you're, but I mean, they've gone above and beyond. When Rachel found out she was pregnant, I think she was scared to tell me because she told her dad first, and then I was at work, came home, and that's when I found out, and I was like, Ray, I said, I'm not upset. You actually did better than me. You finished school. You were of age. I think Rachel was 20, 21, something like that. So, yeah, I was just basically, I just want them to raise their children to be good people.
What was the question again?
So what are you most proud of that together your marriage you can see reflected in your children?
I can see myself in each one of my daughters and my son. I can see each of us, and a piece of us is in each one of them. But I'm grateful for how the girls are in their own respective families, as wives. As Brianna, soon to be a wife. Deontay, I'm grateful with him because he's a sponge when it comes to dad, and so just to see how he is as a young man now, I'm grateful. Yeah, I just think that the way our marriage is, and through our ups and downs, we tried to be a great example. But yeah, I'm grateful and thankful for all of my children. I think they all pulled some good parts away because they seen some stuff that most kids shouldn't have saw, and if it affected them or not, I mean, I just think that we talk about it, and they just they see the good things, and they take that and they run with that, and so they're doing great in their family. So I'm proud of all of them.
So I have one final question from me. So Becky, what is one or two things about Isaac that you really appreciate as he navigated his role as a father, and particularly as a Black father and a husband?
I appreciate him for choosing to take care of his family, for one. For two, to make something out of himself, joining the military, being that soldier for 20 years, and then getting out and still pursuing working for the military. He did an awesome job raising his kids. I mean, I can't ask for a better father for my kids. He told them when they were wrong, and he told them when they were right. And, that's pretty much it.
And same question for you, Mr. Isaac. What are one or two things that you appreciate most about Becky as a mother and as your wife?
One thing that I appreciate Becky as a mother is she nurtured in her own way. Her love language was different than what you would normally see, and what most kids would be used to. But she showed her children. I mean, she was there. She put her life on hold to raise her kids, and so, while I was out doing whatever it is I was doing, she was raising kids for. And so, I'm very appreciative of her, how she raised the girls and our son, and the relationship that she had with each one of them now, and it may not be conventional to what some people may see it. It may not be, Leave It to Beavers type a mothering, but I'm appreciative of that. Earlier on, because I had to jump in and be the nurturer when she wasn't ready to be the nurturer. As a wife, I couldn't ask for better, man. For somebody to stick with me through all the mess, you know what I'm saying? And I'll say that forever. When you delivered, you can talk about stuff. So I'm very transparent, and so, but I'm thankful. I'm grateful that she stuck around through all the times that we was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and going to the grocery store and getting a cart full of groceries, and your credit card or your bank card declined, and through all of that, she never said anything that would make me feel less than a man through all of that. She always still made sure that we was going to get it, you know what I'm saying? And we'll be all right. And whatever I brought home, she made a meal out of it, and we fed our family. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm very grateful that she stuck around. I'm very grateful that she stuck around through all of that, and then just to see how she handled my sickness when I went through the Crohn's disease issue. If y'all could see how like she was changing my ostomy bag lyric, and you know she had to pull it off and clean it, and then put the thing back on, and you know just she was my nurse, and so just put me in the shower, take me out the shower. So yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I can keep going if you want me to, but.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. Like you said, you know, sometimes because you've been in it, it's easier said until you're in it. Because I tell Daryl, you better take good care of yourself. As soon as you get high blood pressure, I'm out. I'm not good with being with sickly men. That's not me.
Yeah. I mean, but that's real though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we have to take care of ourselves, and so just, you know, that I'm grateful for that. And then taking care of ourselves, we got to take care of each other. So, yeah. But those are a few things that I'm grateful for in our marriage.
Yeah. Anything that you guys would want to add? Because that was the end of my questions.
I got a question. So, like, what's one piece of advice you give to like a young married couple?
One piece of advice I would give a young married couple: learn how to communicate before you get married.
Seek God first.
Yeah, that's definitely first and foremost. But
but you know, like you said, communication. Communication is a big key.
Yeah, I think that's what got us. Like the first couple of years in our marriage, every marriage, you know, is gonna be rough because you're trying to learn how to be husband and wife. You're trying to learn each other's, you know, issues. I think what happens to a lot of young people like ourselves, we brought our baggage, we brought our luggage of stuff into the marriage, and we didn't open up the suitcase before we got married. So I think what should happen is, let me open up my suitcase so you can see all my stuff. I open up your suitcase so I can see all your stuff. Now we know each other's things. Now we can bring them into the marriage and we can deal with them better. But when I'm hiding something and you hiding something and we bring it to the marriage, now it come to the forefront, that kind of hurts a marriage a little bit. So I just think learn how to communicate, and the biggest thing, don't rush it like we did. Because that's what we did. You know what I'm saying? Based off the fact that she was pregnant, how I was raised as, you know, being separated from my biological father. I didn't want that for my daughter. That all of those variables played a part in why we got married. And I would say, I tell every young person, date first, because we didn't do that. We was together for 2 years and we didn't date. We were doing something, but it wasn't dating. I'm just as young folks like that, you know what I'm saying? So date first, and don't be in a rush to say I do. You know.
But it worked out for you guys.
It worked, and it was work.
Yeah.
It was
there
a lot
times
of work.
where you can.
Yeah. I remember. I tell you. Can I be honest? Can I be transparent? I remember a time. Once we was done, right? Once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, once. I remember a time, and I remember calling my dad on the phone and said, "Dad, I cannot do this no more. You know, I can't." Like, and my dad said, "We don't get divorced." That's all he said. That's it. He didn't give me no more advice. He didn't say, you know, he didn't give me 500 Bible scriptures. He said, "We don't get divorced." And we just fought through it, you know what I'm saying? It was rough. You know, I remember that. And so, even for a young person that's watching, if you are in a situation where you have already said I do, continue to say I do every day, you know? And
so what got you specifically through that? Right? Because there's the advice of, or the standard, we don't get divorced. And so he set the expectation. But then you have to do the work. So what was the work?
I just think over time, like I say, we didn't go through no counseling, went to counseling once. That didn't work.
No, because they tried to say I was crazy.
Yeah.
That's definitely not gonna work.
Yeah. Becky did not like counseling. Yeah. When that dude told her that she had like double split personality, she was like, "I'm not ever going back."
If I can't fix it, nobody else can.
I think, Miss Ruth, I think one of the things that could help people in the marriage, and to answer your question, what worked was, and I know a lot of people ain't gonna like this, but what worked was each one of us knowing our roles in the marriage. Like both of us can't. When you got two headstrong people, both of us can't be in charge. Somebody gotta, and that's what hurt our marriage early on, because she wanted to be the boss. She wanted to be the wife, the boss, the this.
Fault, I told you.
You know what I'm saying? And because she saw her mom do that, you know. And for me, it was the opposite. You know, my mom, she was according to what the Bible was, she was very submissive. You know what I'm saying? And my dad was submissive to her, like the Bible say. You know, first submit to one another. You know, then he goes into wives do this and husbands do that. But I think when she learned that, that's what helped. Also, and then just the fact that I didn't.
But I also think I want to interject to be fair to Becky. Is that the military doesn't help.
It
right?
doesn't. It doesn't.
You have to rise up and be
that
a man, woman, child, everything when you're gone, and then have to learn how to maneuver sitting back when they come back.
And that was one of the things. Like I remember coming back, being away in Fort Drum for 3.5 years, and then coming back. And this time I learned, like, okay, when I came back from Korea in '99, I just jumped in and I'm back now. I'm the man. And you know, she's been the dad and the mom for a year, and you can't expect her just to turn it off. As a man, I didn't understand that. And so once a man understands that, okay, sometimes you just gotta let her ease back into the role, and you ease back into your role over time. And it was just like, you do what I say, and that, you know, there was a bunch of that. You know what I'm saying? And so it took some growing in me.
Correct.
You know, a whole lot of growing in me. She had to go in her own way, but for me, it took me some maturity because I wasn't a man. It took me a long time to realize, okay, now you're a real man, you know, and so it took some time. Yeah. Because society leaves you, have you thinking that this is the way to be. So, I think that I appreciate that. Yeah, that was different. It was different. I mean, I used to have to do that. That was her. She was always in charge, and I thank you for saying that, because we don't ever realize that, you know, the wives, military wives, they going to the doctor, they doing this with the kids, they doing that with the kids, they going to parent-teacher conference. I was just going to work every day. You know, she was doing all of that, and then, you know, you trying to be in charge. I think we just have to learn what that means. But yeah, we did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
we did a good job. I think I keep it for a little while longer.
Yeah. Anything else that you guys want to share that I didn't ask?
What?
I'm waiting on you.
I said no.
I just want to thank you, because like you've heard me say this many times. I'll continue to say it until the Lord call all of us from this earth. But a lot of the things that went well in our marriage, the catalyst started when we moved next door to y'all. It may took a lot, you know, it over time, you know what I'm saying, but those years that we spent together next door to each other, that helped my marriage more than y'all could have known. We probably wouldn't have made it if we would have stayed in the other part of the neighborhood. Just being honest, we probably wouldn't have made it. But the fact that we was next door to y'all, and the fact that you pulled Becky in and y'all corralled it around each other, you know, and guys did the same with me, and you know, we was young back then, you know, and so I want to thank you and my brother Fry for that, because those years really played a vital part in our marriage being as successful as it has been.
Yeah, well, ditto. Again, I didn't want to cut you off, but I'm saying I think we built a community, right?
Yes,
I
man.
think we built a community that supported each other and supported the families, and I think that's, I think for us, we can say the same thing. It was watching other people in same situations, trying to
And
build
we were
families.
nothing but all a melting pot.
Yeah, it was a big melting pot. And, you know, with Paige and Tanya and the way they parent and the way they, you know, husband and wife each other, and seeing the way you guys husband and wife and the Sheltons, is just all of that helped us as a big old melting pot. So I think all of our marriages grew from that. And so, so I just think all the whole cul-de-sac, they know who they are. There are too many of them to name, but I thank them all. But definitely you two, because we was neighbors, and so we spent a lot of time together.
Yeah, you know,
and our
your
children
neighbors
were
when your kid could
biracial.
walk in your house and go in the kitchen and the snack came to cover.
And like you said, our children were biracial, so they
got to see each other.
they got to see each other, and they're a reflection of each other. And when Bree seen Lyric,
Them
she seen
kids
herself.
hung out together.
You know,
They were
when
tight.
Ashley seen Rachel, she seen herself. And when Sierra seen Lyric, she seen herself. And so, Silver, I mean. And but that's it for me. I mean, I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you. Like I said, I came to you guys because, yes, it was a significant part of the village that we created. But I think that tells a lot of the story, is how we can support each other in marriages, right? It's like we take lessons from each other. And that the privilege of being in that type of village that supported each other.
And the fact that it was okay for her to go to you and say, this is what's going on.
You know, you out my head, because I was thinking the same thing, that I was happy that if I had an issue with you, I can go to Ms. And I know she won't go tell my business. I mean, her and Fry might have pillow talk. That's fine. That's what husbands and wives do. But I know I don't have to worry about
you're going outside the circle.
Exactly. Or even in the
going
circle.
outside,
going outside, period. Outside that's what I meant.
I mean, I can go to Miss Ruth and be like,
this dude here.
Ruth, I was just getting on my damn nerves. I mean, and she'll tell me how it is. And that's one thing about Ruth. She will be blunt, and she don't care if it hurts your feelings. It's just, you have to know Ruth, and you have to know how she is to, you know, accept.
But you know, that's the
not
thing.
Not take it to heart.
Those are the things that I'm talking about. Because like when she come to you for advice, you most wives and husbands.
Yeah, because Ruth will look at you like you're stupid.
No, but what I'm saying is like most husbands, like if I go to most men, and if they will agree with what I'm saying.
Oh, of course.
You know what I'm saying? And your girl gonna agree with what you're saying. But what I loved about our circle, and the fact that we live next door to each other, and Miss Ruth, for example, is she's gonna tell you what Isaac did wrong, and she's gonna tell you what you did wrong, and then you're gonna be able to decide. You know, take your pathway on it. You know, that's real friendship. That helps a marriage out a lot. So
yeah, that's what I always say to my husband, to the girls. It's like, you know who to go to when you want to hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, that's
versus who's going to call you higher.
That's
right?
it.
And that's for me. I think I give it the way that I want it.
Right.
Give it to me direct.
That's what I want.
Don't be, you know what I mean? You can't help me with all the sensitivity part. Just tell me what's going to make me better.
And I want people around me that's going to pull me to the next level. And not just agree and, you know, pacify my emotions and, oh yeah, man, I understand. Yeah, she crazy. Let's go over here and do this. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that. I want you to be like, nah, bro, you was wrong, and this is what you should have done, and you need to go back and apologize. And so I think that's helpful in marriages, when you got a community of folks that can call you higher. And it's even better when you have a community that look like you look. You know what I'm saying? With the family dynamics is like yours is. So, because it's you understand.
But I think it was a lot of it, right? I think, like I said, it was nice to have that community. But I think I was going to say I could give it to you direct. But I think because you were direct also and willing to, like I said, receive it, and you were direct, right? And so I don't think you minced words either, Becky. And I'm like, okay.
No.
And the other thing is that you guys also had to take a chance, because I remember you saying, right, I'm like, oh, we're moving next to these frou-frou people, and but you gave us a chance, you know what I mean? And I think, so that speaks to your character too. So I think neither one of us was like, we were all rooting for each other.
All rooting for each
right?
other.
And so whatever that took, if it took being direct, if it took being there, if it took, we were all rooting for each other.
I would have never known, would have never imagined, I'll say, Lyric, that in 1993, Warrior Brigade Gym, Fort Polk, Louisiana, I'm playing basketball against your dad. And 2001, we're neighbors.
2000.
Yeah, one.
Yeah.
We're neighbors. Him and I talk about it a lot. We just say it's destiny, man. It was just meant to be. But that's when I met him. 1992, 93.
I know when
on the basketball court. Me, him, and Grant.
I know when we moved in, I was kind of happy because I was like, okay, they're biracial. They got 3 girls. I got 3 girls, and they're practically the same ages. And
That was one of the conversations we had in our pillow talk.
Wow.
She was like, I'm gonna like it here.
Yeah, and then just to see the girls walk around that cul-de-sac, like, Jesus, don't they get tired?
Everything in there grown.
Yeah. But
and then we had little old Deontay who would just waddle with his diaper to Ruth's house, get the snacks and go on home.
They ain't little no more. But all of that helped our marriage, and it was good to see a couple that looked like you look, whose family dynamic was the same. Yeah, it was good to see that. Yeah,
and I knew that if I wasn't there, I knew you were there to, for the kids or
parents,
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I could trust you with the kids, and I never had a problem with any of that over there.
Because I tell you, because my brothers, they didn't hesitate telling me when I was wrong as a husband. Or they didn't bite their tongue to tell me you need to go home and fix this. We've had many of them conversations, you know what I'm saying? And all of that helped my marriage, helped me as a man grow to see what real manhood was, because I watched Fry and I watched Paige, the way they parent their children. Even though I had my dad, but and he is my ultimate role model in the military. You get a chance to see other people, the way they do things, and you tend to do who you hang around do. And so when I got around, the community you keep, that's a true statement. If you hang around them long enough, you'll tend to start doing what they do. And so when I got around in our neighborhood and got around the group of guys that we had, you know what I'm saying, I saw myself growing as a dad more and growing as a husband more in that community. Yeah.
People live very individual lives now and very segregated, not even by race, I'm just saying.
Period, yeah.
Individual. And so I think, one of the things for us was that I think a lot of our pride had to die, right, to be able to take advice from other people.
Yeah.
But the benefits were creating a community. You know what I mean? Where I could watch your kids and you could watch mine, and it wasn't a big deal for you to correct mine or for me to correct yours, because we had already built that community. We had already built that bond that we knew. We had the best interest for other people, and I think that's what's missing now.
It's missing.
It's like dying to ourselves and our pride to be able to build a village and a community for children.
That's because society's got the the kids thinking that if you say
nobody.
something to me, if you touch me,
Too sensitive.
Right.
you're going to jail.
Yeah, we got a sensitive society, but just the fact that
But then they miss out.
They miss out. Like,
Exactly.
and like the community that we forged, you don't know how many people that see our community and be like, man, I wish I would have had that. You know what I'm saying? That Miss Lyric can call me any time of the day and she know I'm gonna be there just like her dad would. You know what I'm saying? That Brianna and them could do the same thing for Mr. Fry and Mr. Page and T, and you know, all of our children can do that. That's the community that a lot of people don't get, because like Miss Ruth was saying, they're so divided in this. It seems like the whole families are introverted now. Like they just want to go to work, come home, stay in their little bubble.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was about to say that it's not like it used to be.
No.
Everybody stays in the house. Kids don't even go outside.
They don't even go outside
Hardly.
anymore.
Yeah.
No. And so kids grow up and they miss that. But I'm so grateful that we got a chance to see it, and our kids got a chance to see it.
Yeah, and now it's up to them either to repeat it,
Right.
build it, or whatever, so that their children can have social skills. And
And when we talk about cause I brag in my fatherhood classes and just in my other circles, I brag about the relationships, you know, about I said, man, my youngest daughter, you know, and her best friend, they went to daycare together. You know what I'm saying? That's how long they've known each other. You know what I'm saying? And so people don't get that. Kids don't get that.
Yeah.
And
and those skills of learning ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
You're not always going to get along,
but
you're committed to seeing it through until it gets better.
Yes.
And I think people give up too easily now because you don't have those social skills, or you didn't create those bonds or that community when you were young.
And I'm gonna tell you one of the greatest things that in this family marriage, but one of the greatest things I think that we showed our children is that even though y'all not seeing eye to eye right now, I'm still gonna be there for Miss Lear. If she called me, I don't care. Just because y'all not, just because y'all don't see eye to eye,
right?
That don't have nothing to do with me
and just but you know, Mr. Fry still gonna come and help you move. You know what I'm saying? And that's things that we show as a community, and I think that those kind of stories getting out will help other communities and other people when they're trying to forge friendships and bonds with people. So
because they're young and they're navigating, so you have to leave them to go through that.
They have to.
It has nothing to do with us.
Me and Isaac always tell them, you're not picking our friend.
But you know, but it gives them
adults.
and it gives them that opportunity to figure it out, to watch it and figure it out on their own. You know.
And I think for adults now too, I see that a lot of adults are very much invested in their children's lives more than they should be, right? It's like, if she doesn't like you, then we don't like them. Versus just stay out of it. Let her figure it out. Right?
And that's how we are.
Her experience is not yours to take on. If anything, we could be a good example for our children, knowing that there's times you're not going to get along, but that doesn't mean you just lose the friendship.
I think for I'll say this before we close, when one of the things that Anthony, one of the things that I noticed is in our marriage, once the kids got grown, we didn't have nothing to talk about no more.
Right.
That was a big thing that kind of our marriage was at a standstill. We ain't had nothing to say. We didn't raise 4 kids. They grown now. And they don't need us anymore. Well, not need us, but they're not as needy. They're not here. Now it's just you and me in this big old house, this house. And so we forgot how to date each other, And I think that's one thing that'll help a marriage is don't ever, when you
don't stop
to young
dating.
Couples, don't stop dating each other. Because we tend to get to the point where now that I'm married, I don't have to do it anymore. The same thing you did to get him, put your lipstick on, put your eyes on, all that good stuff. You still got to do those same things. You know what I'm saying? To keep the fire going. And I think for me and Becky, we didn't do that. We just lived. We was just like, look, we gonna make this thing work. And that was the end of it. There wasn't no if about it. It was just. I
mean, we invested too much into
it. I think that's one of the things.
But then there's being married and being joyful, and then being married and then just barely making it.
True.
That's very true. Because,
but at the same time, it took us to fall to come back.
But I think we both can say we've been in them situations where, where we was together, but there was no joy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And it was some times where the Bible say, the nagging wife, the man that go sit on the roof. It was some times I wanted to go sit on the corner of the roof, be like, man, I just want to get away with this joker. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
I love y'all. I